Once upon a time, in a lush forest, there lived a little squirrel named Skippy. Skippy was a curious and adventurous squirrel who loved to explore the forest and discover new things. He would spend his days hopping from tree to tree, collecting acorns, and playing with his squirrel friends. One day, while playing hide-and-seek with his friends, Skippy stumbled upon a mysterious path that led deep into the heart of the forest. Without a second thought, Skippy decided to follow the path and see where it would lead him. As he walked deeper into the forest, the trees grew taller and the leaves grew thicker, until Skippy found himself in a part of the forest he had never seen before. The path eventually led him to a small clearing, where a magnificent tree stood tall and proud. Skippy had never seen a tree quite like this before. Its trunk was as wide as a house, and its branches spread out to create a canopy that blocked out the sun. As Skippy stared up at the tree in wonder, he heard a voice call out from above. "Hello, little squirrel. What brings you to my tree?" Skippy looked up and saw a beautiful bird perched on one of the tree's branches. The bird had bright, colorful feathers that shimmered in the sunlight. "I was just exploring the forest," Skippy replied. "I've never seen a tree as magnificent as this before." "Who are you?" The bird smiled warmly. "My name is Aurora," she said. "I have lived in this tree for many years. It is a magical tree, full of secrets and wonders." Skippy's eyes widened with excitement. "Really?" he asked. "What kind of secrets and wonders?" Aurora chuckled. "That, my dear Skippy, is for you to discover. But be warned, not all who enter this tree leave the same way they came in. Are you brave enough to explore its mysteries?" Skippy's heart raced with excitement at the thought of exploring the magical tree. "Yes, I am brave enough," he said with determination. "Please, Aurora, show me the way." Aurora nodded and took flight, leading Skippy up to one of the tree's lower branches. From there, Skippy saw that the tree was hollow, with a spiral staircase leading down into its depths. "Follow me," Aurora said, and she flew down the staircase, with Skippy close behind. As they descended deeper into the tree, Skippy couldn't believe his eyes. He saw sparkling crystals, glowing mushrooms, and strange creatures that he had never seen before. Each step brought a new surprise, and Skippy felt like he was on an incredible adventure. But then, something caught his attention. In the distance, he could hear a faint crying sound. It sounded like someone was in trouble. Skippy looked to Aurora, and she nodded, urging him to follow the sound. Skippy followed the sound of the crying deeper into the tree. As he got closer, he could see that it was a little mouse, who had gotten herself trapped in a spider's web. The spider was lurking nearby, ready to pounce on the helpless mouse. Skippy knew he had to act fast. He quickly scampered up the tree and jumped onto the spider's back, distracting it long enough for the mouse to wriggle free from the web. "Thank you so much," the mouse said, tears of gratitude in her eyes. "I thought I was done for." Skippy smiled. "No problem," he said. "That's what friends are for." The mouse introduced herself as Molly and asked Skippy and Aurora what they were doing in the tree. Skippy explained that they were exploring and that Aurora had been showing him all the magical wonders hidden within the tree. Molly's eyes widened in amazement. "I've lived in this forest for years, and I had no idea this tree was here," she said. "Do you think I could come along and explore with you?" Skippy and Aurora exchanged a glance and nodded. "Of course," Skippy said. "The more the merrier." The mouse introduced herself as Molly and asked Skippy and Aurora what they were doing in the tree. Skippy explained that they were exploring and that Aurora had been showing him all the magical wonders hidden within the tree. Molly's eyes widened in amazement. "I've lived in this forest for years, and I had no idea this tree was here," she said. "Do you think I could come along and explore with you?" Skippy and Aurora exchanged a glance and nodded. "Of course," Skippy said. "The more the merrier." With Molly now a part of their adventure, Skippy, Aurora, and Molly continued their exploration of the magical tree. They discovered hidden rooms filled with treasure, secret passages that led to unknown places, and beautiful gardens filled with flowers of all colors and sizes. As they journeyed deeper into the tree, Skippy noticed that the air was starting to get thicker and harder to breathe. "Do you guys feel that?" he asked, looking at Aurora and Molly. "Yes, I feel it too," Aurora replied. "We must be getting close to the heart of the tree." Skippy's heart raced with excitement as they continued on, knowing that they were getting closer to the ultimate mystery of the magical tree. What secrets would they uncover? What wonders would they see? Skippy could hardly wait to find out. As they approached the heart of the tree, the air grew thicker and heavier, making it harder to move forward. But Skippy, Aurora, and Molly were determined to reach their destination. Finally, they arrived at a large, circular chamber at the center of the tree. In the center of the chamber was a glowing orb, emanating a warm, golden light. The orb pulsed with an energy that Skippy could feel in his bones. "What is it?" Skippy asked, in awe of the mystical object. Aurora and Molly exchanged a knowing look. "This is the heart of the tree," Aurora said. "It's said to hold the key to unlocking the secrets of the forest and all its creatures." Skippy's eyes widened with excitement. He knew that he had been chosen to discover the secrets of the heart of the tree. But how was he supposed to do that? And what would he discover? As they stood in the chamber, gazing at the glowing orb, Skippy felt a sense of calm wash over him. He knew that he was meant to be there and that he would uncover the mysteries of the forest, with Aurora and Molly by his side. As Skippy, Aurora, and Molly stood there, staring at the glowing orb, they suddenly heard a low, rumbling sound coming from deep within the tree. At first, they thought it was just the sound of the forest, but then they realized it was something else entirely. The rumbling grew louder and stronger, causing the ground to shake beneath their feet. Skippy looked around frantically, wondering what was happening. "It's the Guardians," Aurora said, her voice filled with fear. "We've disturbed them." Skippy had heard of the Guardians before. They were powerful, mystical creatures who protected the forest and all its inhabitants. If they were angry, it could mean trouble for Skippy, Aurora, and Molly. Suddenly, the glowing orb pulsed with an intense light, and Skippy felt himself being lifted off the ground. The next thing he knew, he was being transported through the tree, deeper and deeper into the heart of the forest. Skippy could feel his heart pounding in his chest as he was propelled through the darkness. What would happen to him? Would he ever see Aurora and Molly again? He could only wait and see where he would end up. After what felt like an eternity, Skippy suddenly found himself standing in a small clearing in the middle of the forest. He looked around, trying to get his bearings, and saw that the trees around him were bathed in a soft, golden light. As he stood there, taking in his surroundings, he realized that he was no longer alone. A group of forest animals had gathered around him, each one looking at him with curiosity and wonder. And then, out of the corner of his eye, Skippy saw Aurora and Molly emerge from the trees. They looked relieved to see him, and Skippy felt a rush of gratitude wash over him. "Are you okay?" Aurora asked, her voice filled with concern. Skippy nodded, still trying to process everything that had just happened. "I think so," he said, still looking around at the animals gathered around him. And then, something miraculous happened. The animals began to speak to him, each one sharing their stories and secrets with him. They told him about the magic of the forest and the important role they played in protecting it. Skippy listened intently, feeling humbled by their trust in him. And as the animals spoke, he knew that he had been given a great gift, the gift of understanding and compassion for all creatures great and small. With that realization, Skippy knew that his adventure in the forest was just beginning. He and his friends would continue to explore and protect the forest, and in doing so, they would discover even more secrets and wonders than they ever thought possible. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there was a kingdom ruled by a kind and just queen. The queen had everything she could ever wish for: wealth, power, and a beautiful castle, but what she truly longed for was a child. She had been married for years, but no child had come of the union, and her heart was heavy with the longing for a child to call her own. One day, while taking a walk in the palace gardens, the queen stumbled upon a strange plant with beautiful, shimmering leaves. As she admired the plant, she noticed a small, glowing seed nestled among the leaves. Curious, she picked up the seed and examined it closely, and as she did so, she felt a warm, tingly sensation spreading through her body. Excited by the strange seed, the queen rushed back to her chambers to plant it in a pot. For days she tended to the plant, watering it and watching it grow. And as the plant grew taller and taller, the queen felt a strange connection to it, as if it were her own child. But little did the queen know that the strange plant was no ordinary plant. It was a magical plant, imbued with the power to grant wishes. And as the plant continued to grow, it began to glow brighter and brighter, as if it were preparing to grant a wish. One night, as the queen slept, she dreamt of the magical plant speaking to her. It told her that it could grant her deepest wish, but with a warning: be careful what you wish for sometimes what we think we want is not what we truly need. The queen woke up with a start, her heart pounding with excitement and fear. She knew what she wanted more than anything: a child. But could she trust the magical plant to grant her wish without any negative consequences? Days passed, and the queen could not shake the feeling that the plant was calling out to her, urging her to make a wish. Finally, unable to resist any longer, she stood before the plant and closed her eyes, wishing with all her might for a child to call her own. As she opened her eyes, she saw the plant glow brighter than ever before. And suddenly, she felt a warmth spread through her body, a feeling of pure joy and happiness that she had never experienced before. The queen knew that her wish had been granted, but what would happen next? Would her long-awaited child be everything she hoped for, or would the wish come with a price? Months went by, and the queen's wish came to fruition. She gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, with bright blue eyes and soft blonde curls. The queen's heart was overflowing with love and joy, and she spent every waking moment doting on her daughter. As the child grew, it became clear that she possessed a special gift. Whenever she laughed, flowers would bloom, and birds would sing. Whenever she cried, the skies would darken, and the wind would howl. It seemed that the magical plant had indeed granted the queen's wish, but with a twist. As the years went by, the queen watched her daughter grow into a young woman with a heart as pure as gold. But the queen knew that her daughter's gift was a blessing and a curse, for it drew unwanted attention from those who would seek to use her powers for their own gain. One day, as the queen and her daughter were taking a stroll in the palace gardens, they were approached by a group of strangers with dark intentions. The queen knew that she had to protect her daughter at all costs, but how? The queen quickly gathered her daughter close and began to run through the gardens, trying to escape from the strangers who were pursuing them. But the strangers were persistent, and soon they caught up to the queen and her daughter. Just as the strangers were about to lay their hands on the young woman, a powerful gust of wind swept through the gardens, knocking the strangers to the ground. The young woman had instinctively used her powers to protect herself and her mother. But the queen knew that they couldn't stay in the kingdom any longer. They needed to leave and find a place where her daughter's powers would be accepted and celebrated, not feared and persecuted. So the queen made the difficult decision to leave behind everything she had ever known and journey to a faraway land, where her daughter's powers would be understood and embraced. And with a heavy heart, she set out with her daughter on a journey into the unknown. As they traveled through the vast lands, the queen and her daughter encountered many challenges, but they also found kind-hearted people who offered them shelter and food along the way. The young woman's powers continued to grow stronger, and she learned to control them, using them to help those in need. Finally, after months of travel, they arrived at a beautiful land where magic was celebrated, and those with special gifts like the young woman's were welcomed with open arms. The queen and her daughter settled into a small cottage on the edge of a vast forest, where the young woman could practice her magic without fear of persecution. The queen and her daughter knew that they couldn't let the sorcerer succeed in his evil plans. They decided to use their powers to gather other magical beings from across the land to form an alliance against him. They traveled far and wide, through forests, across mountains, and over seas, seeking out the most powerful and kind-hearted magical creatures they could find. They spoke to fairies, gnomes, unicorns, and even dragons, all of whom were willing to join their cause. Together, they formed a great army of magic, ready to face the sorcerer and his minions. The queen and her daughter led the charge, with the young woman's powers at their peak, blooming with each step she took. The battle was fierce, with both sides unleashing powerful spells and magical attacks. The sorcerer had an army of dark creatures at his command, but the queen and her daughter had the strength of their allies on their side. The young woman fought with all her might, her powers growing stronger with each passing moment. She used her magic to heal her allies, protect them from harm, and strike down their enemies. The queen fought alongside her daughter, her own magic a force to be reckoned with. She had learned much in her travels, and had become a formidable warrior in her own right. The battle raged on for what seemed like hours, but finally, the sorcerer began to weaken. His dark magic could not withstand the combined might of the queen, her daughter, and their allies. With one final burst of power, the young woman struck down the sorcerer, his dark magic dissipating into the air. The queen and her daughter embraced, tears of joy streaming down their faces. They had succeeded in their quest, and the land was at peace once more. But as they surveyed the battlefield, the queen and her daughter knew that their work was not yet done. There were still others who needed their help, other battles to be fought. And with renewed determination, they set out to bring light and hope to those who needed it most. As they journeyed across the land, the queen and her daughter continued to use their powers for good. They helped to rebuild villages that had been destroyed by the sorcerer's minions, and they brought hope to those who had lost everything. The young woman's reputation grew even stronger, and people from all over the land came to seek her help. She used her powers to heal the sick, to bring rain to parched lands, and to soothe troubled hearts. The queen was proud of her daughter, and she knew that she had become a great leader in her own right. Together, they inspired others to use their own gifts for good, and they created a community of people who were dedicated to bringing light to the darkest corners of the land. But as they traveled, they also encountered new challenges. There were those who did not believe in their cause, who saw their magic as a threat. And there were others who sought to use their powers for their own selfish gain. The queen and her daughter knew that they must be careful, that they must use their powers wisely and judiciously. And so they continued on their journey, ever vigilant, always ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. One day, as they were traveling through a dense forest, the queen and her daughter heard a cry for help. They followed the sound, and soon came upon a small village that was being terrorized by a group of bandits. The villagers begged for the queen and her daughter's help, and they knew they could not refuse. The young woman used her magic to create illusions and distract the bandits, while the queen and her allies worked to subdue them. As they fought, the queen noticed that one of the bandits seemed different from the others. He seemed to be fighting against his will, as if he had been forced to join the bandit gang. The queen approached him, and spoke to him kindly. Slowly, he began to open up to her, telling her of his struggles and how he had been coerced into joining the bandits. The queen listened to him with compassion, and promised to help him. With the help of her daughter and their allies, the queen was able to convince the bandit to leave the gang and start a new life. She helped him find work in the village, and even taught him a little bit of magic. The queen and her daughter knew that this was just one small victory in the grand scheme of things, but they also knew that every little bit helped. They continued on their journey, ready to face whatever challenges and opportunities lay ahead. The queen and her daughter journeyed on, and over time, their reputation grew. They became known as wise and compassionate leaders, who used their powers for good and inspired others to do the same. Through their efforts, the land became a brighter and more hopeful place, and the people were grateful for all that they had done. The queen and her daughter knew that their work was far from over, but they also knew that they had made a difference. As they traveled, they talked about all the things they had seen and done, and all the people they had helped. They laughed together, and shared stories of their adventures. And as they walked, they both knew that they were not alone. They had each other, and they had the love and support of all the people they had helped. They knew that as long as they continued to use their powers for good, they would always have the strength to face whatever challenges lay ahead. And so they journeyed on, ready to face the future with hope and courage, and knowing that together, they could create a better world for all. Once upon a time, in a magical forest filled with talking animals and enchanting trees, there lived a curious young fox named Finley. Finley was always eager to explore and discover new things in the forest, but his mother warned him to be careful and stay close to their den. One day, as Finley was playing near the edge of the forest, he saw a glimmer of light in the distance. Intrigued, he cautiously approached the source of the light and discovered a beautiful crystal hidden among the rocks. As he picked up the crystal, he felt a strange energy coursing through his body, and he knew that this was no ordinary crystal. Excited by his discovery, Finley decided to keep the crystal a secret and show it to his friends later. But as he made his way back to his den, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. He quickened his pace, and soon he heard the sound of rustling leaves behind him. He turned around, but no one was there. Unsure of what to do, Finley continued on his way, wondering who or what could be following him. As he walked, the feeling of being followed grew stronger. Finley's heart began to race as he imagined all sorts of scary creatures lurking in the shadows. He looked around nervously, trying to spot anything out of the ordinary, but the forest appeared to be as peaceful as ever. Just as he started to relax, he heard a soft voice calling out to him. "Hello, little fox. What brings you to this part of the forest?" Finley spun around to face the owner of the voice and saw a wise old owl perched on a nearby branch. The owl's eyes twinkled with curiosity as he looked at Finley and the crystal in his paw. Finley hesitated for a moment before answering, still unsure if he could trust the owl. But there was something about the owl's gentle demeanor that put him at ease, and he found himself telling the whole story of his discovery. The owl listened intently, nodding thoughtfully as Finley spoke. When he finished, the owl smiled and said, "You have a very special gift, young fox. But with great power comes great responsibility. You must use this crystal wisely and protect it from those who would misuse its power." Finley felt a sense of pride wash over him at the owl's words. He had always wanted to be special, and now he finally was. But he also felt a weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He knew that he had to keep the crystal safe, and he wasn't sure if he was up to the task. The owl seemed to sense his doubts and said, "Do not worry, little one. You are not alone in this. There are others who will help you on your journey. You just have to keep your eyes and heart open." With those words, the owl took off into the sky, leaving Finley to ponder what he had said. Who were these others that would help him? And what kind of journey was he embarking on? Finley had so many questions, but he knew that the answers would reveal themselves in time. For now, he had to focus on keeping the crystal safe and being open to whatever adventures lay ahead. The days passed, and Finley went about his life as usual, but with a newfound sense of purpose. He kept the crystal close to him at all times, and he remained vigilant for any signs of danger. One day, as he was exploring the forest, he stumbled upon a clearing he had never seen before. In the center of the clearing stood a group of animals, all gathered around a tree. They were singing and dancing, and their joyous laughter filled the air. Finley was hesitant to approach them at first, but his curiosity got the best of him. As he drew nearer, the animals noticed him and beckoned him to join them. Finley was hesitant at first, but the animals were so friendly and welcoming that he soon found himself caught up in their merriment. As they danced and sang, Finley noticed that they all wore necklaces with crystals similar to his own. He couldn't help but feel a sense of kinship with these animals, and he knew that he had finally found the others the owl had spoken of. He smiled to himself, wondering what other adventures awaited him on this journey. The animals in the clearing welcomed Finley with open arms, and he spent many happy days with them, sharing stories and learning about their own adventures. Each of them had a unique tale to tell, and Finley found himself fascinated by their experiences. As he spent more time with his new friends, Finley began to realize that the crystal he had found was not just a simple bauble, but a powerful tool that could be used for good or evil. The animals in the clearing had all used their own crystals to help others and make the forest a better place, and Finley knew that he too had a responsibility to use his own crystal for the greater good. With this new sense of purpose, Finley set out on a mission to use his crystal to help those in need. He started by healing a sick rabbit, and soon he was using his crystal to help animals all across the forest. News of his deeds quickly spread, and animals from far and wide came to seek his help. Finley had never felt more alive, and he knew that he had found his true calling. As he helped those in need, he felt a deep sense of satisfaction and contentment that he had never known before. He knew that he still had much to learn and many challenges to face, but he was ready to face them all with the help of his friends and the power of his crystal. As time passed, Finley's reputation grew and his deeds became known far beyond the forest. One day, a group of animals from a nearby village came to him with a request. Their village had been struck by a terrible drought, and their crops were failing. They begged Finley to use his crystal to bring rain to their land. Finley was hesitant at first. He had never tried to control the weather before, and he didn't know if he was capable of such a feat, but he also knew that the villagers were in desperate need, and he couldn't bear to see them suffer. So he agreed to help them. He traveled to the village and met with the village elders. They showed him their barren fields and dry wells, and Finley knew that he had to act fast. He closed his eyes and focused all his energy on the crystal around his neck. At first, nothing happened. But then he felt a stirring in the air around him, and he knew that he had tapped into the power of his crystal. Slowly but surely, the clouds began to gather in the sky, and drops of rain began to fall from above. The villagers cheered as the rain fell, and Finley felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. He knew that he had used his powers for good, and that he had made a real difference in the lives of these animals. But he also knew that his journey was far from over, and that there were still many more challenges and adventures ahead of him. After the successful rainmaking, Finley decided to continue his journey through the forest to discover more about the power of his crystal. He bid farewell to the grateful villagers and set out on the path ahead. As he walked, he pondered the mysteries of the crystal and its potential to bring goodness to the world. The sun was setting over the treetops, and the sky was turning to a deep shade of orange. Finley knew that he would have to find a place to rest for the night soon. Just then, he heard a soft rustling in the bushes ahead. He paused and listened, and soon he heard it again. It sounded like a small creature in distress. Without hesitation, Finley followed the sound and found a young squirrel caught in a trap. The squirrel was trembling and whimpering, unable to free itself from the trap. Finley approached slowly, trying not to scare the squirrel, and examined the trap. It was a simple contraption, but the metal jaws were tightly clamped around the squirrel's leg. Finley knew that he had to act fast. He closed his eyes and focused all his energy on the crystal. He chanted softly, and a soft blue light began to emanate from the crystal. The light enveloped the trap, and to his amazement, the metal jaws began to loosen. Finally, the squirrel's leg was free. The squirrel hopped away, giving Finley a grateful look before disappearing into the undergrowth. Finley smiled to himself, feeling the satisfaction of having helped another creature in need. He knew that he was just getting started, and that there were many more creatures in the forest who needed his help. As Finley continued to travel through the forest, he encountered many more creatures in need of his help. He used his crystal to heal sick animals, mend broken homes, and even stop a raging wildfire. And as he helped more and more creatures, his reputation grew until he became known as the Forest Guardian. Years passed, and Finley grew old. He knew that his time in the forest was coming to an end, but he was content knowing that he had made a difference in the lives of so many creatures. He spent his final days sitting under the trees, watching the animals come and go, and reflecting on his long and fulfilling life. And when it was finally time for Finley to say goodbye to the forest, he passed the Forest Guardian's crystal onto a young squirrel who had shown great kindness and bravery. The young squirrel was honored to receive the crystal and vowed to continue Finley's legacy of helping those in need. And so the Forest Guardian's crystal was passed down from generation to generation, a symbol of hope and kindness that would never be forgotten. The forest creatures continued to look to it as a source of inspiration and guidance, knowing that the legacy of the wise old squirrel would live on forever. Once upon a time in a faraway land, there lived a curious little mouse named Molly. Molly was always eager to explore the world around her, but she lived in a small hole in the wall with her family and had never ventured out of it. One day, while her family was out searching for food, Molly decided to sneak out and see what lay beyond the walls of her home. As she made her way through the grass, Molly came across a big, beautiful garden filled with all sorts of delicious fruits and vegetables. She couldn't resist the temptation and started nibbling on a carrot. Suddenly, she heard a rustling in the bushes and quickly scurried away, fearing it might be a cat. But as she looked back, she saw a group of friendly rabbits hopping out of the bushes. Excited to make some new friends, Molly introduced herself to the rabbits and they welcomed her warmly. They showed her around the garden and even let her try some of their favorite foods. Molly had never felt so happy and free before. Little did she know, her adventure was just beginning. Over the next few days, Molly visited the garden every chance she got, and each time she was greeted by her new rabbit friends. They taught her how to hop and jump like they did and showed her all sorts of fun games they played in the garden. But one day, as they were all enjoying a game of tag, a group of mischievous squirrels appeared out of nowhere and started causing trouble. They knocked over a basket of berries and started throwing them at the rabbits. Molly was scared and didn't know what to do, but then she remembered something her mother had once told her: sometimes, the smallest creatures can be the bravest. With newfound courage, Molly stood up to the squirrels and chased them away. The rabbits were grateful and impressed, and they all agreed that Molly was now one of them. From that day on, Molly felt like she belonged in the garden and had found a true home with her new friends. As the days turned into weeks, Molly and her new rabbit friends continued to explore the garden and have all sorts of fun adventures together. They had picnics, played games, and even put on a play for the other animals in the garden. But as summer began to turn into fall, Molly started to feel a sense of unease. She knew that winter was coming, and that the garden would soon be covered in snow and ice. She worried about how she and her friends would survive the cold and find enough food to eat. One day, as she was sitting by herself in a quiet corner of the garden, Molly noticed a wise old owl perched on a nearby branch. She decided to approach the owl and ask for his advice. The owl listened carefully to Molly's concerns, and then spoke in a deep, reassuring voice. "Do not worry, little one," he said. "Nature has a way of providing for those who trust in her. The cold may come, but so too will spring, and with it, new life and new adventures." Molly felt comforted by the owl's words and knew that he was right. She resolved to enjoy every moment she had with her friends in the garden, and to trust in the natural cycle of life. As the days grew colder, Molly and her rabbit friends started to prepare for winter. They gathered food and built warm burrows to keep themselves safe and comfortable. Molly also took the owl's words to heart and savored every moment she spent with her friends, knowing that their time together was precious. As the first snowflakes began to fall, Molly and her friends huddled together in their burrows, listening to the soft, peaceful sound of the snow settling on the ground outside. Molly felt a sense of contentment that she had never felt before. She knew that she had found a true home in the garden, and that her friends were like family to her. As the long winter nights stretched on, Molly and her friends shared stories, sang songs, and played games to keep themselves entertained. They even discovered a secret tunnel that led to a hidden room beneath the garden, where they found all sorts of treasures and mysteries. And through it all, Molly never forgot the lessons she had learned from the owl. She trusted in the natural cycle of life, and knew that spring would eventually come, bringing with it new life and new adventures. And indeed, as the snow began to melt and the days grew longer, signs of spring began to appear in the garden. The trees started to bud, and the flowers began to bloom, filling the air with their sweet fragrances. Molly and her friends emerged from their burrows, eager to explore the garden once again. As they ventured out, they discovered that the garden was alive with new creatures and new adventures. They made friends with a family of birds who had built a nest in a nearby tree, and even helped a lost snail find its way back to its home. Molly felt a sense of joy and wonder as she explored the garden with her friends. She knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, and that they would always have the memories of their adventures to cherish. And as she lay in her burrow at night, listening to the sounds of the garden outside, Molly felt grateful for the lessons she had learned and the friends she had made. She knew that she had found a home in the garden, and that she was exactly where she was meant to be. As the summer months arrived, the garden was transformed into a lush, vibrant paradise. The trees were heavy with fruit, and the air was thick with the buzz of bees and the chirping of crickets. Molly and her friends spent their days exploring every inch of the garden, finding new wonders and delights around every corner. They swam in the cool, clear pond, climbed to the tops of the tallest trees, and had picnics in the shade of the flowering bushes. One day, as they were lazing in the sunshine, they heard a sound that they had never heard before. It was a soft, sweet melody, like nothing they had ever heard before. They followed the sound to a grove of trees, where they found a group of fairies, dancing and singing in the dappled sunlight. Molly and her friends watched in wonder as the fairies twirled and spun, their gossamer wings shimmering in the light. The fairies noticed the rabbits and invited them to join in the dance. Molly and her friends hesitated at first, unsure if they would be able to keep up, but the fairies encouraged them, and soon they were all dancing together, lost in the magic of the moment. The fairies welcomed Molly and her friends to their world, and showed them all sorts of magical wonders they had never seen before. They introduced them to talking flowers, glowing mushrooms, and mischievous fireflies that danced in the moonlight. Molly and her friends were awestruck by the beauty of the fairy realm, and grateful for the fairies' hospitality. They spent many joyful days with the fairies, learning new dances, sharing stories, and helping with tasks around the fairy gardens. But as the days grew shorter and the nights grew colder, the fairies began to prepare for their own journey home. They explained to the rabbits that they must return to their own realm, where the changing seasons called them back. Molly and her friends were sad to see their new friends go, but they understood the cycle of life and the importance of saying goodbye. They thanked the fairies for their kindness and hospitality, and promised to remember them always. And as the fairies disappeared into the misty realm beyond, Molly felt a sense of gratitude and wonder for the many adventures and friendships she had found in the garden. She knew that there would be more challenges and joys to come, but for now, she was content to rest and reflect on all that she had experienced. As the leaves began to fall from the trees and the air grew colder, Molly and her friends knew that winter was approaching. They huddled together in their burrows, snuggling for warmth and comfort. But despite the chill in the air, Molly felt a sense of excitement and anticipation. She knew that the winter months would bring new challenges and adventures, and she was eager to see what lay ahead. One day, as she was wandering through the garden, she came across a strange, sparkling object, half buried in the snow. She carefully brushed away the snow, and gasped in amazement at what she saw. It was a magical crystal, glowing with a soft, warm light. As she held it in her paws, she felt a sense of power and wonder coursing through her. She knew that this crystal was special, and that it held the key to unlocking new mysteries and secrets in the garden. Molly showed the crystal to her friends, and they were all amazed by its beauty and power. Together, they vowed to use the crystal to explore every corner of the garden, and to unlock its many secrets and wonders. And as the first snows of winter began to fall, Molly and her friends set out on a new adventure, eager to discover what lay ahead. As the winter months passed, Molly and her friends explored every corner of the garden, uncovering new wonders and mysteries with each passing day. They braved treacherous snowdrifts, outsmarted cunning foxes, and discovered hidden paths and secret caves that they never knew existed. Through it all, they relied on the magic of the crystal, which helped guide them on their journey and protect them from harm. And as they emerged from their burrows on the first day of spring, they knew that they had accomplished something truly special. For they had not only explored the garden, but they had also forged a bond of friendship and trust that would last a lifetime. They had learned to work together, to rely on each other's strengths and talents, and to overcome even the greatest challenges with courage and determination. And as they basked in the warm, spring sun, Molly and her friends knew that they had truly found their place in the world. They had discovered a magical garden full of wonder and adventure, and they had done it together, as a team. As they looked out at the garden, they saw a whole world of possibilities stretching out before them, and they knew that they would never stop exploring, never stop learning, and never stop growing. For in this magical garden, anything was possible, and anything could happen. Once upon a time, in a far-off land, there lived a young girl named Lily. She was a curious girl who loved to explore the forests surrounding her village. One day, while wandering in the woods, she stumbled upon a beautiful meadow with a crystal-clear lake in the middle. She had never seen anything like it before. The lake was so clear that she could see the colorful fishes swimming in it. The flowers surrounding the lake were in full bloom, and their sweet fragrance filled the air. Lily was in awe of the beauty of the place and decided to come back to it every day. Lily started to come to the meadow every day, and she would spend hours watching the fishes swim in the lake and picking the flowers. She even started to bring her lunch to the meadow so she could stay there all day. One day, while she was sitting by the lake, she saw a group of animals walking towards her. There were rabbits, squirrels, and even a deer. They were all looking at her, and Lily was scared at first. But then she realized they weren't there to harm her. They had come to play with her. Lily was thrilled to see the animals, and she smiled at them. The rabbits started hopping around her, the squirrels climbed up the trees, and the deer walked up to her and nuzzled her hand. Lily realized that she had made new friends in the meadow. From that day on, the animals would come to the meadow every day, and Lily would play with them. They would run around, play hide and seek, and sing songs together. It was the happiest time of Lily's life. As time went on, Lily grew to love the meadow and her animal friends even more. She learned a lot about nature from them, and they taught her to be gentle and kind to all living creatures. She also learned to appreciate the simple things in life, like the sound of birds chirping, the rustling of leaves, and the scent of flowers. The meadow had become her happy place, where she could forget all her worries and just enjoy the moment. One day, Lily woke up to find that it had rained heavily the night before. She was worried that the meadow would be ruined, but when she arrived there, she found something beautiful. The rain had made the flowers bloom even more, and the lake was sparkling in the sunshine. The animals were all gathered around, waiting for her to arrive. They were all wet from the rain, but they looked happy to see her. It was as if the rain had brought them all closer together. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. Lily continued to visit the meadow every day and spend time with her animal friends. She felt like she belonged there, and the meadow felt like her home. One day, as Lily was leaving the meadow, she noticed that the sky was turning orange and pink. She realized that she had spent the entire day in the meadow, and it was now evening. She said goodbye to her animal friends and started to walk back to her village. As she walked, she looked back at the meadow and smiled. She knew that she would be back there again soon. The next day, when Lily arrived at the meadow, she saw that there was something different. The animals were all gathered around a new flower that had bloomed overnight. It was the most beautiful flower that Lily had ever seen. It was big and purple, with petals that seemed to glow in the sunlight. The animals all looked at Lily and then at the flower, as if they were trying to tell her something. Lily felt drawn to the flower and walked towards it. When she reached it, she noticed that there was a small note tied to the stem. Lily carefully untied the note and read it aloud to her animal friends. To the kindest and most loving person I know, Lily. Thank you for being a friend to all of us and for bringing joy to this meadow. This flower is a symbol of our gratitude and love for you. From your animal friends. Lily felt overwhelmed with emotion as she read the note. She had never received anything so heartfelt before. She looked around at the animals and saw that they were all looking at her with love and admiration. She realized that her time in the meadow had taught her the true meaning of friendship and kindness. From that day on, Lily continued to visit the meadow and spend time with her animal friends. But now, she knew that she was more than just a visitor. She was a part of the meadow, and the meadow was a part of her. She watched as the flower that her friends had given her grew bigger and more beautiful each day. It was a reminder of the love and kindness that existed in the world, and Lily knew that she would always treasure it. She spent her days in the meadow singing with her animal friends, exploring the woods, and enjoying the beauty of nature. She felt grateful for each moment she spent there and knew that she would never forget the lessons she had learned. As time passed, Lily noticed that the meadow started to change. The leaves of the trees began to turn golden, and the flowers started to wilt. She realized that the season was changing, and winter was approaching. Lily felt a pang of sadness in her heart, knowing that she would soon have to say goodbye to her animal friends and the meadow. She wondered how she would be able to leave this place that had become her home. She knew that she had to make the most of the time she had left in the meadow and create as many happy memories as she could. Lily spent her remaining days in the meadow making the most of her time with her animal friends. They played games, sang songs, and told stories by the campfire at night. Lily cherished every moment and knew that she would always carry the memories with her wherever she went. She even took the time to teach some of her animal friends new songs and games so that they could continue to enjoy each other's company after she was gone. As the days passed, Lily could see the signs of winter approaching more and more. She knew that the time had come for her to say goodbye to the meadow and her animal friends. But she also knew that the love and friendship she had found there would stay with her forever. On the day of her departure, Lily woke up early and took one last walk through the meadow. She saw the flowers and trees, which had now shed all their leaves, and she felt a sense of peace and acceptance. As she walked, she met all her animal friends along the way, who had come to say goodbye. They hugged her and told her how much they would miss her. She hugged them back and told them how much they meant to her. Lily knew that the memories of the meadow and her animal friends would stay with her forever. She promised to come back to visit them one day and thank them for making her feel like she belonged. With a heavy heart, Lily turned and walked away from the meadow, taking the love and kindness she had found with her. As she walked away from the meadow, Lily felt a mix of emotions. She felt sad to leave her animal friends and the meadow behind, but she also felt grateful for the memories and experiences she had gained. Lily wondered what her next adventure would be, and as she looked ahead, she saw a new horizon full of possibilities. She knew that even though she was leaving the meadow, there was still so much more of the world to explore. As she walked, Lily felt a sense of excitement and anticipation for what was to come. She knew that the meadow would always hold a special place in her heart, but she was ready to move forward and see where her journey would take her next. As she walked further away from the meadow, Lily noticed that the landscape was changing. The trees and flowers were different, and the air smelled unfamiliar. She was a little nervous, but also curious about this new environment. As she walked, she began to see new animals and creatures she had never seen before. They were different colors and sizes, but all seemed friendly and curious about Lily. Lily smiled and greeted them, feeling happy to meet new friends. She realized that even though the meadow was a special place, there were many other beautiful and interesting places to explore in the world. Lily continued on her journey, eager to discover all the wonders that lay ahead. As she walked deeper into this new area, Lily came across a river. She approached it, feeling curious about what lay on the other side. But the river was wide, and she couldn't see the other side. Lily wondered how she would get across. As she stood there pondering, a kind and wise old turtle appeared. The turtle looked at Lily and said, "Hello there, little one. I see you are trying to cross the river. I can help you with that." The turtle then proceeded to show Lily how to make a makeshift raft using nearby branches and leaves. Lily was amazed at the turtle's ingenuity and thanked him for his help. She then got on the raft and began to paddle across the river, feeling excited about the new adventure on the other side. After crossing the river, Lily continued on her journey, exploring new lands, meeting new creatures, and learning new things. Along the way, she encountered challenges, but she always found a way to overcome them, with the help of her friends and her own inner strength. She realized that life was full of ups and downs, but that every experience was an opportunity to grow and learn. As she looked back on her journey, Lily felt proud of all that she had accomplished and grateful for all the wonderful experiences she had had. She knew that her adventure wasn't over yet, but that she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that she had the courage and the wisdom to navigate them. With a smile on her face, Lily continued on her journey, eager to discover all the wonders that the world had to offer. In a world far beyond our own, there existed a planet known only as Zorin. The inhabitants of Zorin were a curious species, with heads that glowed like fireflies and limbs that seemed to be made of a shimmering, silver mist. They had the ability to communicate with each other telepathically, and their society was based on the principles of peace and harmony. One day, a group of Zorinians stumbled upon a strange object in the depths of their planet's ocean. It was a metal capsule, unlike anything they had ever seen before. The capsule was rusted and dented, and it appeared to have been drifting in the ocean for centuries. The Zorinians were intrigued, and they decided to bring the capsule back to the surface for closer examination. As they pried open the capsule, they were met with a blinding light. When the light subsided, they found themselves staring at a group of humans, frozen in stasis chambers. The humans were dressed in strange clothing, with intricate markings etched into their suits. The Zorinians were shocked to see these creatures from another world, but they were also excited. They had never encountered intelligent life beyond their own planet, and they couldn't wait to learn more about these humans and their world. The Zorinians carefully thought out the humans, who were startled and disoriented at first. It took some time for the Zorinians to establish a telepathic connection with the humans, as their thought patterns were vastly different. After a while, the humans began to communicate with the Zorinians using a device that they had brought with them. The humans told the Zorinians that they were from a planet called Earth, and that they had been on a mission to explore the universe. They had encountered a malfunction in their spacecraft and had crash-landed on Zorin. The Zorinians were fascinated by the humans' stories of Earth and their technology. They had never seen anything like it before. The humans, in turn, were amazed by the beauty of Zorin and the unique abilities of the Zorinian species. Over time, the Zorinians and the humans began to work together to repair the spacecraft. They shared knowledge and ideas, and formed a strong bond of friendship. As they worked, they discovered that their two worlds were more alike than they had initially thought. Eventually, the spacecraft was repaired, and the humans prepared to leave Zorin. But as they said their goodbyes, they knew that they had made a profound connection with the Zorinians, and that they would always remember their time on the alien planet. As the spacecraft soared through the galaxy, the humans couldn't help but reflect on their encounter with the Zorinians. They had never expected to find intelligent life on their journey, and they were amazed by the kindness and curiosity of the Zorinians. The humans knew that their discovery would have profound implications for their own planet. The knowledge they had gained from the Zorinians could help to advance their own technology and understanding of the universe. But as they traveled through the stars, they also couldn't help but feel a sense of longing for the peaceful and harmonious world they had left behind on Zorin. They wondered if they would ever encounter such a place again, and what other secrets the universe held. Little did they know, their journey was far from over, and that they would soon encounter more surprises and wonders beyond their wildest imagination. After weeks of travel, the spacecraft emerged from the darkness of space and into the warm embrace of a vibrant nebula. The humans were awestruck by the kaleidoscope of colors and shapes that surrounded them. As they scanned the area, they detected a faint signal coming from one of the nebula's distant planets. The signal was unlike anything they had ever encountered before, and they knew that they had to investigate. As they approached the planet, they realized that it was teeming with life. Strange creatures with shimmering scales and glowing eyes darted through the clouds, and the air was thick with a sweet, exotic scent. The humans landed their spacecraft and began to explore the planet's surface. They were met with a cacophony of sounds and sights that they had never experienced before. Plants that glowed like neon lights swayed in the gentle breeze, and rivers of crystal-clear water flowed through the landscape. As they ventured deeper into the planet's dense forests, they encountered a tribe of beings unlike anything they had ever seen before. They had bodies made of pure energy and communicated in a language that the humans couldn't understand. But despite the differences, the humans felt a sense of kinship with these creatures, and they knew that they had stumbled upon something truly extraordinary. The energy beings led the humans to a shimmering portal, which they said would take them to the heart of their civilization. The humans hesitated for a moment, unsure of what they might find on the other side, but their curiosity got the best of them. As they stepped through the portal, they were enveloped in a bright light and felt themselves being pulled through space and time. When they emerged on the other side, they found themselves in a vast, gleaming city that seemed to be made entirely of light. The energy beings showed them around the city, introducing them to their technology and way of life. The humans were amazed by what they saw. The beings had harnessed the power of the stars to create a utopia of energy and light. As they explored the city, the humans realized that they had discovered something truly unique in the universe. They knew that their encounter with these beings would change the course of human history forever. But as they prepared to leave, they also knew that they had to be careful not to disrupt the delicate balance of this alien civilization. They promised to keep their discovery a secret, at least for now, and set out to continue their journey through the stars. As they left the planet of the energy beings behind, the humans couldn't help but feel a sense of awe and wonder. They had discovered two civilizations unlike anything they had ever seen before, each with their own unique qualities and technologies. But they also realized that their journey was far from over, and that there were still countless mysteries to be uncovered in the vast expanse of the universe. As they traveled through space, they encountered more planets and civilizations, each with their own stories and secrets. Some were peaceful and welcoming, while others were hostile and dangerous. Despite the challenges they faced, the humans were determined to continue their journey. They knew that the knowledge they gained from their encounters with these alien civilizations could help to change the course of human history and bring about a new era of understanding and cooperation in the universe. As they looked out into the endless expanse of space, the humans knew that they were just beginning to scratch the surface of what was possible. And they couldn't wait to see what other wonders the universe had in store for them. Their journey through the universe continued for months, and the humans encountered countless civilizations, each one more fascinating than the last. They learned about new technologies, cultures, and ways of life that they never could have imagined. But as they traveled deeper into the universe, they also encountered more complex ethical dilemmas. They were faced with questions about how to interact with civilizations that had different moral codes or belief systems, and whether or not to intervene in conflicts that they came across. These dilemmas forced the humans to confront their own biases and assumptions, and to reevaluate what they knew about themselves and the universe. They realized that their journey was not just about discovering new worlds, but about discovering themselves. As they continued on their journey, the humans became more and more introspective. They began to question what it truly meant to be human, and how they fit into the larger tapestry of the universe. Despite the uncertainties and complexities of their journey, they knew that they were on the right path. They were learning, growing, and discovering new things about themselves and the universe with every passing moment. And they were excited to see where their journey would take them next. As they traveled deeper into the universe, the humans encountered a planet unlike any other they had seen before. It was covered in lush green forests, teeming with exotic wildlife and creatures that seemed to be a blend of plant and animal. As they explored the planet, the humans discovered that it was home to a highly advanced civilization of beings that lived in harmony with their environment. They had developed technologies that allowed them to harness the power of the planet's natural resources without causing harm to the ecosystem. The humans were amazed by what they saw, and they felt a deep sense of connection with these beings. They realized that they had much to learn from them, and they spent weeks on the planet, studying their way of life and exchanging ideas and knowledge. During their stay, the humans also discovered a mysterious force that seemed to permeate the planet. It was a powerful energy that flowed through all living things, connecting them in a way that the humans had never experienced before. As they delved deeper into this energy, the humans realized that it held the key to unlocking new technologies and abilities that they had only dreamed of. They began to study it intently, hoping to harness its power for the betterment of all humanity. But as they did so, they also knew that they had to tread carefully. They didn't want to upset the delicate balance of this planet, or to cause harm to the beings that lived there. So they worked tirelessly, combining their knowledge with that of the planet's inhabitants, and slowly unlocking the secrets of this powerful energy. And as they did so, they knew that they were on the brink of a breakthrough that could change the course of human history forever. After months of studying and experimenting, the humans finally achieved their breakthrough. They had developed a new technology that could harness the power of the planet's energy without harming the environment or its inhabitants. The discovery was a turning point for humanity, and it ushered in a new era of innovation and prosperity. With this new technology, the humans were able to solve many of the world's most pressing problems, from climate change to poverty and hunger. But more than that, the discovery brought humanity together. It was a reminder that no matter how different we may seem on the surface, we all share a common bond. We are all part of the same universe, and we all have a responsibility to protect and preserve it. As the humans looked back on their journey, they realized that it was about much more than just discovering new worlds. It was about discovering themselves, and about coming together to solve the biggest challenges facing humanity. And so they continued on their journey, with a renewed sense of purpose and hope. They knew that there would be many more challenges and uncertainties ahead, but they were ready to face them head-on, armed with the knowledge and experience that they had gained along the way. As they soared through the stars, the humans knew that the universe was vast and infinite, and that there was still so much to discover and explore. But they were ready for whatever lay ahead, knowing that they were united in their quest for knowledge and their commitment to making the world a better place.